What's going on, everybody? My name is Derek, and welcome to my channel. So for this evening's chat and discussion, I would like to talk about therapy, or psychotherapy is what it's also called. The reason is because someone brought it up in a comment, and we get so many comments. I get so many comments. But for whatever reason, this one stuck out, and as always, I try to relate to these topics, and I've been seeing the same therapist for 10 years, since almost 10, sometime early 2012. So I have my experiences and thoughts on that. So first, let me read the comment. I'm not sure if people are comfortable with me giving the name out, so I'm not going to give the name, but thank you. If you are listening to this and recognize that I'm reading your comment, thank you for this comment. First off, it says, can you make a video on therapy? Yes, I can. I just started therapy and I love my therapist. However, I don't know what is okay to ask her. Sometimes I'm embarrassed to tell her certain things because I think she might think my problems are silly. Also, I'd like to go to every other week, but she wants to press for weekly, but I have to watch our finances and the co-pays if this is going to be a long-term thing. Thanks. Well, that's an awesome message, and it kind of stuck out to me because I feel like I have good points for all of those. So as far as don't know what to ask her, you ask her anything. A good therapist, trained therapist, a licensed therapist, it comes with no judgment. You are allowed to tell them and ask them whatever you want. That's part of the process. It's a safe place. Now, is this something that you can just do right out of the gate? No, because you're meeting a stranger at first. You handshake, hi, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. But over time, you become comfortable with this person. You build a relationship, which is why when you mention going to every other week, totally understand. Financially, totally get it. But if you're going to go every other week, really remain consistent with that. The reason why weekly is the typical model is it's the best kind of consistency. So you build that relationship with your therapist, because it's going to take some time to build trust before you really feel comfortable telling this person all of your demons and your baggage and your skeletons and whatever it is that you're trying to talk about. It's scary. It's tough. And I have an analogy on how that works here in a minute. But so if let's pretend, there is no issue with finances. You have great insurance maybe, or you have the means and you just need to take some good therapy. I suggest weekly, so you can have that consistency with your therapist. Once you build that trust, then you're going to look forward to it, and you're going to go in there wanting to say all the things you feel you can't say anywhere else, because now your therapist in that office is a safe place for you. And then you mentioned you might feel embarrassed to tell her certain things because you're afraid that she might think you're silly. Nope. Therapists come with no judgment. They will always listen to what you have to say, process it, and just communicate with you. If you say something silly that's kind of funny and the therapist laughs, it's because you're funny. But if you go in there one day and you are just out of sorts, anxious, and you just can't gather yourself because you are worried about something that you feel is silly, well, to your therapist, it's not silly. The therapist is going to want to know why. What's going on? What are you thinking about? Let's fix this. Let's work through this. I shouldn't say the word fix. That's not the right word to use in therapy. No one's getting fixed. That's the reality of that too. That you have to come to grips with is you get better, you can heal, you can mature and grow up and just kind of, detach yourself from negative past or whatever it is that's ailing you. But there's no fixing. There's no, okay, this is your 10th therapy session. You're 100% now. No, it's something that you have to maintain. Whether you continue to go to therapy or you really just focus and do it strong for a good year and pay attention and really use the tools given to you, taught to you. Because at the end of the day, it's up to you. And that's, I can say that to everybody. Whether it's quitting drinking, drugs, eating habits, whatever it may be. You go to a therapist, you get help. It's a great place for you to learn more, express yourself. It will give you the tools and on how to cope. But as soon as you leave the door and you walk into the parking lot and start driving home, it's up to you. So it's on you to use these tools. I have this talk with my daughter all the time. So I'm a huge fan of therapy. So I started, like I said, in 2012 because I was just having some issues. I was drinking and I was having a lot of those problems too, but I was also in just a crappy place in life. I was acting out. I was snapping. I would have like bursts of just aggression. Not good. So finally all came to a head to a point where I needed to seek help and just kind of figure what was going on. And I just got lucky. I truly got lucky. I Googled therapist in my area. And at the time I lived in Horn Lake, Mississippi, which is just northeast of here, where I live now in Hernando, Mississippi, literally 15 minutes from here. And a company came up in the area, and I went there and set up an appointment, went there, met my therapist, and here we are 10 years later, almost 10 years later, still seeing the guy. He's awesome. He's become a friend. He's like a mentor. He's a life coach. He's just become much more than someplace I go to complain about my mom. I know you're watching, Mom. That was a long time ago. I got through that, Mom. But the benefit you get from building a long-term relationship with a therapist is because that person knows everything about you now. You can now, instead of focusing on the past and working through all that stuff, which is not easy, and I'll get to that here in a second, but eventually you catch up to the present. And the past is always there. Hopefully you're using your tools, but then you catch up to the present. And now you go to your therapist, and your therapist is like, so how did last week go? How did your job interview go last week? Let's talk about that. And then you can spend your hour processing something that's in the present. Or you have a big decision to make, or you have an event coming up that's bringing you anxiety. Okay, let's talk about that. Now we're not even in the present. Now we're focusing on something that's coming up. So now instead of reacting to your past, you're being proactive. Let's process through this. So this event that's 3 weeks down the road is not panic city for you. It's try to make it smoother for you by working through these tools and whatever. So that's why I'm a proponent of therapy long term, because it's just the way to go. You can't go to a therapist and in 2 weeks be like, thanks. You gotta work through it. If you don't like your therapist, then continue your search. Continue your search until you find someone that you like. Then that's the person you stick with. So I have this weird analogy that might be gross to some. I'm going to try to not make this nasty here, but I have this analogy I like to talk about, and I've shared this with my daughter because my daughter sees the therapist too. And what's difficult about when you're looking at the past, you're coming in with all this baggage, all this stuff that you've just pressed down and you've pressed down, and it's always there. It's always burning. You just leave it and you fight it. Well, let's pretend we're getting sick, right? And you feel the urge to release, right? But you don't like doing that. I hate doing that. I hope you all figure out what I'm saying. I'm trying not to use the words. But I hate the feeling of, releasing poison like that. So I fight it. And it makes my stomach hurt more, and it's painful, and I dread it. I live in denial. No, I'm not sick. No, I'm not sick. I'm not going to regurgitate. No, and you fight it and you fight it and you fight it until you can't fight it anymore. And then it happens. And sometimes it happens in the not so best place. Maybe not the bathroom. Okay, so there's that. But you feel better. Okay, it's over. I feel a little better now. It's unfortunate how it went down here, but I do feel better now that I got it out. Okay. But it hurt. There's burning involved. It's just so uncomfortable. But you feel a little better after that. But sometimes that comfort's fleeting, and then it comes back around, or it's all it took, but now you're tired for another day. Okay. So that example there is, when I compare it to me, is back when I first started therapy, I was snapping. I would hold anger, hold frustration, stress. I would just hold, and then pow, snap. So, okay, not good. But when I would snap and have my little hissy fit and everything, then I would crash and just be like, I'd feel awful, but that angst was gone. Still not healthy though. All right, so now the next step. You feel the urge, you're feeling sick, but now you get to a therapist before it's kaboom, right? But what the process is now you're being asked to share stories. What's bothering you? And some of these stories or issues or memories or whatever it is that you're trying to work through can be very painful. You're dredging up old memories. You're bringing this stuff like right back to reality, like right to the forefront of your brain, which can be intense. I'm not going to lie. This isn't easy. If you're going to therapy and really wanting to work through some stuff, it's not easy. It takes work. And you go, and then you just say what you can. You say as much as you feel like you can say, and you're still holding some stuff in. Well, you've like hit the pressure valve. You've just let some pressure out in a healthy way. You're not letting it stew and steam up, and then you just have a moment. So that's the process. That's where it starts. But it still hurts coming up. Plenty of times I've left a therapy session feeling worse. Like, what's up with this? Like, I kind of went into this in a good mood today, and now I feel worse. That's because you're working something. That's actually a good thing. That means there's progress. You've brought something up that's been dormant inside of you for so long that needs to come out, and you're finally pulling it out, and you're working through it. And trust me, eventually you work through these things, and the more and more you meet with your therapist, and the more and more you talk about it, and the more and more you learn how to cope with it, it's now a part of your history. Never change that, but it's not burning inside of you anymore. It's gone. It's out. And that was a long process for me. I still have some days where I leave therapy a little quirky, but without question, I've got to this place where I'm with my therapist, and it's in the now and future. We're not really focusing on anything that happened in my childhood or any of that stuff. We already worked through all that stuff. Now it's kind of the stresses and issues I'm dealing with now and stuff that is ahead of me. But that's kind of my weird analogy on, yes, I'm comparing therapy to regurgitating. There, I said it. But it works. I strongly suggest it for anyone. I don't know, but I would gather if you don't have insurance and you don't have the means, there's plenty of, governmental plans out there. I mean, there's help for anyone out there. If you need help, there's help out there. Sometimes it's just a little harder to find, but it's there. So if you've been on the edge on deciding whether you want to see a therapist or not because you're afraid to do it and afraid of the process and afraid from having to bring up some things that are going to be painful for you, well, I hope this gives you a little nudge towards making the decision to do it. But I'm also not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sell you a bill of goods here. It's hard. It's hard work. You have to want to do it, and it's going to be a little painful for a while. But man, I'm telling you, the benefits I've experienced in my life because of therapy is, I can't even put it into words. So, well, there you go, y'all. As always, thank you for engaging. I love your comments, and I hope you're enjoying my new vlog series. I'm enjoying doing it, but as I mentioned, I enjoy doing this too, back in the studio. Till next time, y'all, I hope you have a great night. We'll talk to you again soon.